You're listening to Finding Your Genius Zone with Dirk Nevelle. With the help of successful individuals across industries, Dirk breaks down the unknown parts of every vocation while highlighting the importance of finding a career where you can leverage your natural skills, passions, and interests. Now here's your host, Dirk Nevelle.
Everybody, this is Dirk Nevelle, and on with me today is Dave or David Hoffman. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
I know you've been great. I really appreciate you making the time. Super excited to have Dave. Dave, I mean, I feel funny saying this because Dave and I are I'm 53. What are you, 54, 53?
No, 53 on the money, yeah.
Yeah, I was born in May of 70. I think you were born in June of 70.
July. You're right there, yeah.
All right, cool. But it's funny, we're about the same age, but you were kind of like a hero of mine. And I know that sounds really funny. But I told you before I hit record, I love football. My whole family played. You played with my cousin Rocco at the University of Washington. But I had this feeling I had a bunch of head injuries, and so I stopped. But when I got to UW, I was like, can I play with these guys? And I remember watching you and thinking, nah, I don't think I can. Because it was just kind of fun to watch you guys. You obviously had a special team on both sides of the ball, but you were an amazing football player. You were a legend at the University of Washington, and then I'll let you get into it with the audience. But after playing for, I think, the Steelers, you transitioned into the Secret Service. Is that right?
That's correct. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Why don't you I'm going to flip it back to you, and why don't you talk a little bit about, what it is, what you did for them. I know you're kind of retired, but how you got into it, and then we'll kind of let it just go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Dirk. And like a lot of people, I really didn't know what I wanted to do in college, and so I was playing ball, and back then you think you're bulletproof and you're going to play for a long time. And I actually had a couple old scouts tell me. They walking up the practice field, actually, they said that, Dave, you're going to play, but you're not going to play for long. And after, and I said, excuse me. And they said, yeah, the way you play the game and the way you guys practice here, if you ever saw us practice, we practice extremely physical. Games were easy, it was kind of the mantra. And there was no joke about that. We banged out there more than we needed to, but we didn't know any better back then, to be honest. So I ended up getting drafted by the Chicago Bears, and then I ended up being with the Steelers for a little bit. And I kind of just jacked around. I was milking injuries, ever since my senior year in college, and was after Pittsburgh, I tried to hang on and go over to the World League for a year, and I came back and was in camp with the Niners. But down deep, I knew I was at the end, and I was just trying to squeeze out more time from the sport you love. And as you know, Dirk, there's so much passion that goes into it with the game, and playing defense and loving your teammates and getting after it. So it is tough to walk away from it. So it's one of those things that I did it reluctantly, but I really didn't have a choice. My body, and nobody wanted no beat up a linebacker anymore. And so I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do after college. And so I came back. I don't know if you know this, but I actually thought about coaching. So I kind of put my foot in the pool and talked about being a graduate assistant with when Lambright was the head guy. And I had a great time doing that. It was a little awkward because the same guys were all pretty much there as far as coaching staff. So the guys that I was playing for, I'm trying to coach with, and so it's a little different when you have disagreements and things, and you're just a graduate assistant, and you want to tweak things up, but I guess knowing your place is a big part of it. So. One day I was walking out of the stadium, and Mrs. Lambright, Coach James's wife, I'm sorry. Was walking with Coach James, and Carol James was there, and Carol and I stepped up on the side, and she grabbed me and she just said, um, "Dave, what are you going to do? What are you thinking about doing now?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about coaching." And I'll never forget. Her eyes got watery, and she said, "No, Dave, like that's a lot harder life than." And I had just met my to be wife, and you're thinking about all those things, and so it didn't totally push me away from it, but it made me stop and think about all the things that go into a career and all the things that pros and cons, and sometimes I still think about maybe I should have gone that way, but I'm thankful the way it worked out.
Yeah. And by the way, we're going to get into the Secret Service here, but I want to make sure we don't leave I have a couple questions for you on Husky football. Yeah. And by the way, I grew up with Jenny James, and I used to jump on their I used to ask Don if I could jump on the trampoline. And one time he said no, but I did. And I got high enough on the trampoline where he was in his office and he saw me and he came out. He was pissed off, and I was scared. Yeah. I was scared for a while. You don't want to mess with the dog father.
That's a good story. Yeah.
Yeah. The dog father was a big deal. So the question I was thinking about a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you about, and what I'm really curious on is and I don't know how else to say this, because I was a smaller guy, but I played with, I was angry. I didn't want to hurt people, but I kind of did in a non bad way. And watching you, I always was curious, where the hell does that fire? Were you an angry kid? Were you just super chill off the field? Where did that fire? Because you were playing with one of the best defenses ever in college football, and you were the guy, in my opinion, or one of the guys. And I was always curious, where did you channel that fierceness that you had?
Yeah, I think I think when you're pretty young, you feel like an intensity, and there's and I had good parents that kept me on the right path, and there were times I definitely got off of that and had to get straightened out a little bit, but football was the real release, and I'm so thankful for a game like that and to be able to play, and I'm sure it's UFC fighters and other people, it really is their release, and it's a great time. And the thing is, it sounds kind of ironic, but it really, that intensity and wanting to inflict on your opponent, it really comes from joy and from being happy and excited, and I know it comes across, and maybe it takes that form of trying to inflict on your opponent, but it really comes from a good place. And it sounds, I always tell my kids, and I tell people that the toughest guys I've ever met are also the nicest guys I've ever met. And whether that's, guys in the special forces and the SEALs and or football players or whatever, they are, the baddest ass guys are also the nicest guys off the field. And I think it just says a lot, for a lot of these people I've met that can go to those extremes, and be either or both at the same time. And after the game, you're shaking hands and laughing with the same guy that you were just smashing a little bit ago. And I just think it's a great part of life. And I think, we're lucky in this country that we have this beautiful game. And, I was blessed to play it, and blessed to meet a lot of great guys that enjoyed it with me.
So Jimmy, my cousin, I always ask him, I said this before, who was the one guy you didn't want to line up with? And it was always you. And he always would talk about how you were bleeding from you were just, was there a guy on the team did you ever get nervous? You didn't want to line up against him, or were you just bring it on?
Yeah, it was bring it on, but I totally respected a lot of, our guys. it would keep coming, and I remember in games I would if there was a like usually like with a fullback or somebody after the first hit, they're almost always going to go low on you and try to chop you because they just don't want to do that again. And when you get somebody that would stay up high, and I still remember Tommy Vardell, touchdown Tommy at Stanford, he stayed up high the whole game, and man, we were just it was some of the most fun I've ever had, and it was he just out of pride and everything he was gonna stay up, and I just respect that, and I let him know it too. I walked over into their huddle and congratulated him in front of his team. Well, not congratulated him, but just express my appreciation for his warrior mentality and the way that he was up for doing it all day long, no matter what it took.
Yeah. Was that so? As far as one memory, was the USC game up there when the whole Marinovich thing happened? Like all I could see was purple, or is there another game that stands out for you?
Yeah, that game, I guess in a way was kind of what kicked off our run of three straight Rose Bowls, um, but golly, Dirk, there's so many great games and great times. I mean, even back in Nebraska, going back there, and they were ranked in the top 5 or whatever, 4. I don't know what they were at the time, but it was all their history and playing in their place and taking care of them like we did was a treat also. And gosh, being a part of that defense and walking into either the doghouse or going anywhere in the country was just a joy. It was just a treat. You got these guys who very humble, but man, they knew they were the baddest ass guys in the country, and they were walking in and take care of business. And we got pulled out a lot of times early in the third quarter. I mean, and the scores still were what they were because we had great second string. But imagine what it could have been if they would have done it like they do today, leave them in longer. Would have been something else. Coach James just had that old school mentality of kind of respect and not letting the score get too crazy. And he's the head guy and appreciated it. I just asked that they give me a little bit of warning before they take me out so I could kind of get myself ready to turn the reins over because like we were saying earlier, so much intensity goes into it, so much buildup that when you get just yanked out right away, and it's for a good reason, but I gotta, that's kind of your pay back in those days was getting to play. So
Yeah.
It was fun.
High school, did you play offense too?
I did. I played, just like a lot of guys. I played, tight end, running back, backup quarterback. We did not have a very good high school. My team in my 3 years of varsity, I won 10 games total in 3 years. So that's what I tell a lot of these dads out there that think that they need to send their kid to whatever school. If they can play, they can play, and they'll find them. Although it's fun to play for a winning team, there's no doubt about it. But we struggled. We struggled.
So did we. I played with Godot. We were at Eastside Catholic.
Oh yeah.
And we did not have very good luck in Kinko, but anyway, well, I appreciate I love listening to you. Jaime was another guy, by the way, that I was told that you didn't want to line up against. That liked to hit.
Beautiful guy, awesome guy. God rest his soul, and Mark's as well. And wonderful guys. And they were thumpers all day long. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were special. Okay, so when you were kind of out of football in class, like, was your mindset, I just want to take this game as far as I can? And like, were you thinking NFL? Was that your goal?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to play at least for as long or as little as I could, and have the experience and like every a lot of kids in this country growing up, to go walk onto an NFL field. I wish I could have done it for longer, but it was just not in the cards for me. And I did start think, what am I going to do next? And kind of to jump into this, maybe a little ahead, Dirk, but I kind of met some. I slowly started to, when I came back to Seattle, I met some retired agents in federal law enforcement, and I thought about just talking with them. And there's one guy, especially Don Glasser, who was he's a former SEAL and was on the FBI. He's on the hostage rescue team, and just he played at Utah back in the day, and he's just a wonderful guy. I still talk to him today. He's down in Florida now. Wonderful guy, and we had kind of similar mindsets, I guess I would put it. And speaking with him, I started to think about the different opportunities you can get onto some tactical teams, and I have tons of respect for the military and a lot of appreciation for them, but it wasn't anything that I've been a part of. And so to learn a lot of these, a lot of the tactics and a lot of the close quarter combat stuff, it kind of went hand in hand with the mentality that I already had, and I guess the communication flow, with your teammates, and a big part of the game and playing middle linebacker was being amped up, like you were saying before, being amped up, beyond belief, but also being able to think crystal clear and communicate when everything is going on and going down around you. And that was something that I took a lot of pride in football. And we don't go around, saying a whole lot about things, and there's a humbleness that goes with it, but down deep, you want to be the guy that your teammates would go to war with, or would want to pick, to go to battle with. And I think to be with a lot of people that have that mentality and think that way was something that I always kind of wanted to be part of my career, and be something that I did for a living.
So was the introduction in the Secret Service just meeting somebody, having conversations, and then what were the next steps?
Yeah. So I, back in those days, there wasn't online applications like there are now, but that also enabled me to have some face-to-face talks, and handed in my application in person, and getting to yap with people and talk with them, and answer any questions or ask some questions that I might have. And I think we tried to do that when I was active with the Secret Service. We tried to go to as many of these career fairs and that kind of stuff as we can, and get out there, and I think a lot of people, and myself included before this, I think you'd think, how in the world do I get started in something like this? How in the world, how do I get my foot in the door, so to speak, to be an agent and with anything, DEA, to be a marshal, to customs, like anything, and be in the bureau, whatever. And it just takes a little initiative, and these days it's even just getting online and sending in your application. And it is nice though to be able to have some people you can bounce questions off of, and ask those personal things that maybe don't get answered initially when you're applying for the job.
So when you got into it, was there a training period, like an initiation kind of thing? And then they say, hey, Dave, this is where we want to send you. Or did you go into it saying, this is the area that I'm going to focus on? Did you have the freedom to choose, or were you told what to do?
Yeah. You've got some options on your favorites. And I don't know if it's 3 or your 5 top offices or whatever that you put down. Of course, they could send you wherever they want, but they really do try to make it work for you, and you and your family, if you have one. And in that first office, and then backing up before that, to answer your question, we went back east, and like a lot of agencies, we went down to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center down in we're down in Georgia, and you're down there for a few weeks, and then you come back, and we were in the DC area for another, and in total you're looking at probably a good 6 months or maybe a little more, and learning everything from law to working cases, tactics, counter surveillance, undercover work, hand-to-hand combat, and also what's allowable or justifiable under the law, so you're not overdoing it out there, and then also it's also a good time to talk to a lot of the instructors or older agents who have been through the ropes and can share with you personal stories and things that really help your point of view. So when you're going out there into your first thing, you're not at least you have a thought process, and you have a way to analyze it before you go in, and just get all the intel you can before you go into a case and start working it, and then kind of as things evolve and you're there and actively maybe entering a building and also doing interviews on the fly and trying to get all the information that you can in a short period of time. It's one of those things. It's a real challenge, and it takes and as time goes on, you really have a chance to become pretty good at it and get your job done, and then pass it on to the next guys.
Okay, a lot of questions. So I'm thinking, well, one, I wanted to. So you came, you played at elite level football, and then a lot of tough guys, a lot of probably ego, a lot of whatever you want to call it, and a lot of nice guys too. I'm not saying it's.
Oh yeah.
But, so you get to this world of maybe a lot of dudes like you that just have the fire and the whatever you want to call it. Was it humbling, or did you feel like you just integrated really well, or was there ever a time like, was it difficult, or had you already done the difficult stuff in previous years with football?
Yeah, I think it was more just being open to learning, and it was I think paying your dues how we did back in the day, and playing with the guys I did. You're not going to find guys any better than that, but I will say, that's also part of why I made decisions that I made when I got into the Secret Service. Is I knew right away I wanted to try out for the counter assault team. It's a team that goes around with the president and is basically there for in case of an organized attack and a terroristic situation. And it was something that just from the very first weeks I got on, and I saw the guys, and I knew what they had been through, or at least some of what they'd been through, to make that team and to just the tryout and the selection process. It was something I really wanted to be a part of. It's kind of one of the unique things in the Secret Service, as far as the special agents go, that there's still a real hardcore tryout, and then they expect you to keep up your physical and mental and tactical abilities, while you're on the team, as long as you're there. And so it was something I wanted to do, and I ended up being allowed to try out for it after I'd been in the service for a handful of years, and it was something I'll always be thankful for. And once again, I got to be around a lot of guys that were the same type of mindset that were in my locker room back in the day, and guys that were in my huddle, and was a treat, and something I'll always be thankful for. I'll always be thankful for getting to work with those guys and getting to learn from each other, and then getting the opportunity to go and train with some of the elite operators in the world.
So was it motivating? Is that what did it for you? Kind of like, I'm sure serving your country, which we live in the greatest country in the world.
Absolutely.
Was it that, or was it all the above? Like, was it all the things that went with it, the physical, the mental, the protecting your country, serving? Like, was there one thing that stood out? Like, if someone was to say, hey, Dave, what did you love most about being in the Secret Service? What would you say?
Wow. Yeah, that's really, and not just to use it as an excuse, but I think, all the above, because, getting to use and hone those skills, but getting to do it for your country is a real motivator in itself. But at the same time, getting to do those things and getting to be with those people in unique parts of the world and places where I really do think while I'm talking about this, I really, we really get to see a lot more of what our troops do overseas and the things that and their day in and day out life, and oftentimes we're living it with them, not near as long as they do, and not in the situations they are for as long, but man alive, man, we've got the greatest fighters in the world, and we are the greatest country for a reason, and it's not like we don't have a lot of issues ourselves and a lot of things that we need to work on, but I'll tell you what, I can't think of a place I'd rather live, and I think when we all look at it with the clear view, I think most of us would probably feel that way. And like I said, not that we can't improve on things and keep making things better, but and that's something I wanted to try to help preserve. I don't want to sound corny or anything, but I always hope that you hope it never happens, but you got to be ready for it, and you got to and if you're in that job, I mean, I think you almost kind of and you take it seriously, and you think you can truly make a difference. I think you want to be there when it goes bad, because because you think you can really make a difference and win win the day, and whatever the situation is. I think that's the way you have to look at it, and like in football, you always want to run the ball my way, come over here, and if not, you'll go hunt it down if you can anyways. But it's like just it's a true privilege, to be able to do that and to get to work with the people that I got to work with. I'll always feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I just was thinking about when you were talking, like I go watch my son play. He plays for Mount Si, and it's this beautiful setting under the mountain. And mm-hmm. I always get emotional when they do the national anthem. And I just go to all those people that lost their lives and served, and just to allow us to do what we do. And so, it's the ultimate sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Tell me something, Dave, like, and again, it's not like, I know you're a positive guy, but like, is there something that, if let's just say your nephew Gabe was looking at getting into this or something, and you would mm-hmm. warn him about, is there, I want to say it's a negative, but some of not every job and career is perfect. Are there a couple things that maybe, I don't want to say you didn't like, but maybe you wish they were a little different? Like, let me just, for example, when I'm listening to you, I'm also thinking about a young person listening and watching and thinking about, and it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things for me that I really like is my freedom. Like, I want to wake up with my kids. I want to go to bed with them. I want to coach them in sports. It seems like in your world, especially in the beginning, you might lose a little bit of that flexibility. So if you're interested in Secret Service, you might not be able to have that 9 to 5 where you're home for the holiday. I mean, what are a couple of things that maybe not were hard for you, but maybe weren't ideal?
Yeah, well, I think, there's definitely some things that you have to take into consideration, and something that we always try to talk to our applicants about, before they come on, to make sure that they're okay. And some of these things are, for example, and I went through it myself, is having to move If you want to be in one area, let's say you you finish college and you're in an area that you just love and you definitely don't ever want to leave there. This is not the job for you, because you're going to have to, you're going to have to move. Some guys do it more than others, but you're definitely going to have to move. At least I'd say at least 3 times, and be up for that. And that said, you usually do have somewhat of a say in where you want to go, but still you're going to have to go. And it's not always easy on, maybe yourself, but also your family. You have to take that into consideration, and changing schools and getting to a new area. And, the time of year that you move, it is almost like you get a hand pick, that you get to move in the middle of summer and start the kids off fresh or whatever. I mean, you could be the new kid in school, which happens a lot to a lot of kids in this country, and sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a situation where it was a blessing for the kid to be put in that situation and kind of have to meet some new people and open them up socially a little bit. But that said, you're going to have to do it, and also. Our schedule is often dictated by other people that we protect, and so it's having to run and miss important things or birthdays or holidays or that kind of stuff. Can happen, and it's part of the sacrifice. Anybody that works in our military, you could even talk more to that than I can, but it's definitely something you have to take into consideration. And I just think you just need to be real about it, and just say, is this really something I can do? And if you can, great. And my kids enjoyed. They said that they liked all things said after the fact. They said that they appreciate getting to live in different parts of the country and meeting different people and living in different climates, and they enjoyed it and enjoyed a lot of different places in this country. It wasn't like, I don't think we lived in more than maybe 4 places, but it was fun, and they had a good time with it. But everybody's got a different personality and was wired differently, and so that's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah. I'm thinking too. So like I said, I haven't had a lot of time around you. I know your brother, Steve. You from what I see from afar is like, here's this, I know that you're a super nice, cool guy, but just intense on the field, in the Secret Service. My question is about, or it's an assumption again, is how do you turn it off? Like, you're not losing a sales deal. When you have a bad day, it's probably a pretty bad day or whatever. Like, so when you go home at night, when you were younger, to your family, your kids, like, how do you shut it off? Or were you able to, or like, how did you chill out? How did you just kind of like get away from the noise?
Yeah. And honestly, like, coming home to my family was always, it would always give me a second wind, no matter how tired I was or wiped out, when you come in and you see your kids waiting there, man, I mean, there's nothing better. And it just kind of, takes you into a whole nother world and appreciation and thankfulness, for what you have. And I think, Dirk, I think, way back when I don't know when I realized this, but at some point, and we were talking earlier about, my high school football team not being so good and winning 10 games in 3 years. And I remember walking off the field and, I'd see people upset and maybe crying or whatever. And I always just knew that, man, if I gave everything I could for, whatever I'm doing, if I'm playing football, going out there, running around, trying to smash people and having a good time, or if I'm on the basketball court, or if I'm doing a job somewhere, or I'm with, doing some volunteer work for somewhere, or whatever, if I gave everything I could give, and focused on it and physically and gave all I could give, then I'm gonna leave it there. And so that's what I do. I just and I give what I can give, and I prepare myself. I try to be ready physically. I try to take care of myself, and I try to keep a clear mind. And at the end of the day, man, you give it all, and just being able to be good with that, and encourage your teammates or coworkers or whatever, and just be, try to be as realistic and as in a true positive way, as you can, and just like we say, leave it on the field, but just leave it on the field, and give it all you can, and come home and enjoy some of the better things in life.
So you were able to do that. Like, I'm thinking too, like if you're thinking about this line of work, I think it's really important to be aware of your temperament, and like, can you leave it on? Like I was in technology, and then I wanted to be a child psychologist. So I went back to school, and I was doing night school it was a 7-year program. I went for 2 years while I was working. But I realized, Dave, that like we would do these case studies where I'd be working with a young boy, and maybe he's getting abused by his dad.
Right.
And I just knew that I would be knocking on that dad's door eventually. So I realized that I couldn't do this. Like I couldn't, it was just too hard for me to be exposed. And so the stuff you guys do, I think it's interesting. One of the questions I was going to have is people think they can do it, but you don't really know how to react until you get punched in the nose. I'm guessing there's people that when they were in the line of fire, or when things are happening, they might not have had the ability to function. And you don't know until you know, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's everybody deals with intensity and change of situation. I guess in a different way. And like you said, you really don't know until you're put there. And it's like, we knew walking down, when I walked down the tunnel onto the field, you prepare and you get ready, and the other team always showed up. They always showed up, and you go to battle, and you use everything that you can learn against them and everything. But in this line of work, you don't know when they're going to show up and where they're going to show up, and that's part of the battle. But having that mindset that you can snap into it quickly and be super effective, and communicate with your teammates, and at the end of the day, just get the job done. There's I always say there's a lot of times we draw up certain plays on defense on the board, and it didn't always look like that, but at least you had a starting point and a place to go off of, and at the end of the day or the end of the play, as long as you won and got that tackle for a loss, or punched the ball out and made a fumble or whatever, had success. Hey, you huddle back up, and you can always analyze it later, but just make sure that you have the attitude where you're gonna get the job done and win.
Yeah. I guess I hear a lot of similarities, like you talking about playing football and Secret Service. There feels like a lot of, there's just a lot of consistencies, and I know like Secret Service, it could be permanent, right? Like you can lose your life, and in a football game, you might lose a game, but chances are you won't lose your life, but they're both intense. Are you, I think you might have answered it, but I'm going to ask it a different way. Like when you see people, the question is for you, but you've seen a lot of people come into the field of Secret Service. What would be one or two, or maybe even three personality traits or components that typically translate to someone being successful and being good at it? And you might have seen a couple, like, if someone has a lot of ego, or they don't have humility, maybe they can't hang with a bunch of guys like you. Like, what are the components that you seem to see that work well for somebody to be successful in this career?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think all in all, I think being able to have that intensity that just with your day in and day out allows you to train and take care of yourself physically, to have a sharp mind, and then also composure. So if you walk around and act that way and are wound up all day long, man, you're going to be wiped out, and I guess in a way it is, Dirk, sometimes when we do events where there's a lot of people and there's a lot of, potential circumstances that are, or are protectee or protectees are up close to a lot of people. You're, you get, I guess you can get tired mentally because you're on, so high for so long, and you have to be. You have to anticipate, and you have to see things, before they happen, and anticipate things going on. But you also can't overreact, and so you're in that place, and so you have to be on. Is just the way I say it. So you're locked on mentally, but you also have to have that composure. And those two things are often, it almost doesn't make sense, to be this way, but at the end of the day, you have to be composed. You have to not overreact, but also, man, when it goes, yeah, you better not underreact. You know what I mean? And you better win. And that's the kind of the yin and the yang of it, that we battle with. And so that, and I think, in football, it's like, don't get a penalty, go to the line, but don't hurt the team. And that was something I always took back with me. And when I compare my high school career to football, the difference is one, that we won a lot of games in college, but also I got late hits in high school that I would deliver on guys, and it was some of it was not being composed, and also knowing that we weren't going to have a chance to win the game, and there was some frustration in there, and so I learned, hey, I'm not going. When I got into college and we had a good team, like I'm not going to hurt my team. I never got a late hit penalty in all my years in college, and I never. And I don't even remember doing a face mask or anything or a late shot on the quarterback. And it's right up to the line. It's right up to right up to the wire. But man, you don't want to hurt your teammates, out of respect, and also, you're on a mission, and that mission is to reach your potential and do the very best you can.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to you, because I'm thinking, like, you said it really well. People, when you watch people talk about sports, or you hear people debate on ESPN, there's a component, I think, that people don't really know. Like, so if you've never played, but you can be strong, fast, and big, but just the ability to see the field and know, like, I wasn't the fastest guy, but I could take angles. So there's like this calm clarity. It's a real skill set, I think. That you have. And I would guess you, as a linebacker, even in the chaos, in the midst of the fire, you had to kind of slow it down a little bit, like the Matrix. And then when time came and then you found the angle, you exploded. And I'm guessing in your line of work as a Secret Service agent, you kind of had to have that same skill set as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it comes with, some of it, it comes with confidence, and the confidence that you can get the job done, and just hang and let everything play out in front of you, and make that one decision and make the right decision. And when I used to read linemen, whenever we had a zone coverage in on our defense, I would actually read the lineman, and the lineman would tell me, run or pass, and if it was run, it would tell me where the ball was going. And there was a lot of different ways the lineman moved, and it was kind of like an animal, watching an animal, and you actually focused in on that and let everything else go and focus on those linemen. And it sounds kind of crazy, but you sat there, and it's only for a fraction of a second, but it feels like it's all day, because when the ball snapped, everybody's natural reaction is to move. Like, and even if it's just a quick twitch or something, when the ball goes, people don't realize it, but they want to have a twitch in their body. And what you realize when you're really honed down on that, you're actually taken away from the move that you want. It's actually wasted movement, and a little step the wrong way, even though it's a fraction of a second, changes everything for you. And it actually, if you have the confidence to sit there, trust your read, trust what you're seeing, and go. And when you go 100 miles an hour and go and take it. But you know that you've got the right read. And so what it comes down to, when you back it all the way up, it comes down to being able to believe what you see and see it the right way, and see it for whether it's a situation where we're being attacked, or whether it's something on the football field. See it, and study it enough that what the answer is, and go and solve it fast, and that's where the fun of being nasty and having a good time with it comes into play. But you're going the right way, you're making the right read, and you just gotta believe it and go. And that's when everything really becomes fun. And that's when whether you're whatever your job is, when you can trust yourself and go, that's it's just a good feeling.
I love that you said the whole fun comment, because I think for me, what I'm trying to do, Dave, in this podcast is, it's sometimes really obvious, like it's right in front of you. Like, what do you do? Like I said, on a Saturday, if you have a full day, what lights you up? What's fun? Like, what were you born in this world to do? And I think I see people in my life, friends, peers, whatever, and it feels like those people having fun are living a very good definition of success. Like, they're really enjoying their life. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to help people, kind of like, instead of following the money or what you think looks good, or what your mom or your dad said, like, pay attention to what makes you different and try to maybe align your career with that. As we wind this down, what would you say? Think about your own kids, Gabe, whatever. Someone is thinking they want to get into your line of work. Do you have any just words of advice that you might want to leave with the audience on whether it's Secret Service or just choosing a career?
Yeah, I think just kind of sitting back and really explore what all your options are, and not necessarily keyholing yourself into one thing, because really at the end of the day, it's kind of how I look at it, is you're really trying to put together a lot of things that mean something to you and things that you enjoy doing, and somehow making a career out of it. And some people love being part of the team. Some people love doing their own thing, and just using people as a sounding board when you need some information or everything. And other people like being, and sometimes it's both. Sometimes we all I enjoy doing things on my own. I also enjoy being part of a team and working in a group. And I think those are some things to think about, and then really talk to people and talk to people that are out there doing the job, or that have done it, and get their opinion and get their insight on it. And I think when you're lucky enough to really get some no BS truth from somebody about how they liked or did not like their career, I think you can kind of learn from that and piece things together. And I think you can also I think also you can see the traits in your own life and how they correspond to the different jobs out there. I think when we all down the road, we all realize that your job becomes a lot, like, it's not and don't think, what you do is who you are. And I think some people get caught up in, they say, I'm a Secret Service agent. Well, that's what you do, and I was honored to do it and honored to be a part of it. But, hey, I'm Dave Hoffman. I'm a dad. I'm a son to my parents, and try to be a good boyfriend and try to be a good, everything. But, there's a lot of things that we do. And this what you do is, it does feel like sometimes that, that it's what you are because you're so embedded in it. But it's so important that when you come home, you realize, hey, and this is what I do, and I'm going to be the best at it that I can, and I'm going to be a good teammate, and I'm going to try to keep learning, the whole time. I think that's a big part of it too, Dirk, is I think it's important to find something that you can keep getting better at. And sometimes it's just real little things that you learn and pick up. And I also think it makes it appealing and makes that challenge, that you're going to get better. And I think sometimes we all need to sit back and just think, just of a couple little things, and it might be minuscule, but think of some things that we can do better in our job, and then even just as people, and just what we can do, and we can never give thanks enough, for all that we have, but there's a lot of things like that we can never quite do enough, and but we can sure try. You know what I mean? And I think we all make a difference when we put our nose down and we try. And, try to be a better teammate, try to be a better person, and just, look for the opportunities out there in your specific field.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Another question along those lines, but like people know you as, they remember you as a football player. If they don't know you, like on the inside circle, and then they've seen your, career in the Secret Service, what's something that people would maybe be surprised about you? Like, something that might shock them, like maybe you meditate, or you play the violin, or you dance, or like, is there something about you that's just like, kind of, not to shock the world, but something about Dave Hoffman that nobody knows?
You know what? I mean, it's all, I guess at least my family and my close friends kind of see, and I'm I can be a screwball just like everybody else. And oftentimes I am. And it's just, I really do just enjoy, sometimes sometimes I make up crazy songs and poems, and I sing them in the car, and either people love them or they're irritated like crazy and they want to get out, and that's and actually you can ask poor Mark Brunell, he had to hear quite a few of those in college, and the showers echoed, so I get in there and just like letting loose. And the funny thing is, a lot of times everybody starts singing with me, so it was pretty good times. Man, I got some good memories, and and that's just something else I encourage, man. Always be yourself. And I think when you have a job that you can be yourself and let your who you are and what you really feel like out, and always having respect for others, but just being yourself and letting loose a little bit, and that's where. Those are the times when, and also, you can sense when things are getting tight, or like I remember at practice on the field, it was everybody was amped up, and we were fighting so hard all week to get going, and it was just time for like a little wrestling talk or something like that, to come out and just and kind of be, goof around a little bit. And just mix that into the intensity and the fun, but just kind of, change the mood a little bit. I mean, how hard guys are working, and part of that is, when you're, considered a leader or something, like you need to have your hand on that and see how the guys are doing. And at the end of the day, you really got to care about the people, to do it right. And I think that's the biggest thing we could probably give each other and give ourselves is just caring for people and doing the best we can.
So maybe a musician someday in Nashville.
Yeah, that's right,
I don't know. I mean, that's the other question. I said,
you know what? You know what my daughter gave me back. So I used to have, when I was on the Steelers, me and my teammate Steve Avery, we used to. He was like literally a great musician, but I ended up getting these little harmonicas, and I would play it in the background. He was playing like real music, and I was playing. I didn't know what I was doing, but I would bang away on that thing, and it was horrible. But man, he encouraged me to keep going, and I finally gave those to my daughter years ago, and I think it might have been my 50th birthday. She just gave them back to me, so I think she was got a little rust on them, but they still work.
So maybe you and I can do cowbell, and we can find.
There you go.
My
cousin.
Triangle.
Yeah,
or something.
Rocco can do the triangle. Yeah.
By the way, did you ever line up against Rocco in practice?
Oh yeah, many times. Well, because he and Ed Cunningham were the center, and I was the middle linebacker. So we had plenty of car crashes. Yeah.
And then you had Caligus and Peterson.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Caligus, all those guys.
I know you'll be nice, but what kind of player was Rocco? I know he was super smart.
Yeah, well, definitely smart. Always thinking ahead. Tough guy. And one thing about him, he was always. He was surprisingly quick. He's really flexible. I don't like if you ever saw him in there doing power cleans, you'd think, my gosh, how does this big guy move like this and get in those funny positions and then get out of them, with all that weight. And he was great. And you know what? You want to talk about a teammate? I mean, they don't make him better than that. He was all about the team. He was all about doing his job perfectly and even better than perfectly. And he was somebody everybody loved to play with. And we were blessed to have him and a lot of guys like that on the team. And I think that's what a championship team is made of at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, like I said, you guys were the best, one of the best teams I've ever seen. And it was just an honor to spend some time with you today. Before I end this, Dave, is there anything left that you want to say, or you feel pretty good?
No, I feel pretty good. And I just encourage everybody to, follow your dreams and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything and follow your dreams and, go with your heart and talk to people. And, I think you'd be surprised how many people are willing to share their insight, into different careers and opportunities out there. And all you got to do is ask. I
love it. Really an honor to meet you, Dave. And I don't think you're coming up for the game tomorrow night, are you?
No, I'm not. I'll be down at the Stanford game, but
okay.
I won't be there. So
all right,
you have to fill me in.
Well, one of these days I'll meet you in person. And thanks again for taking the time.
Cheers, brother. Appreciate it. God bless.
Right. You too, man.